episode of Nintendo Pow Block is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support Nintendo Pow Block and the Buzzrush Network, head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/Buzzrush Network and see which tier is right for you. Thanks for your continued support.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Nintendo Pow Block here on the Boss Rush Network. This is episode 416. It's too many. It's time to
retire.
Yeah. I am not the enlightened and excited Eddie B, as you can clearly hear. Ed's off working for some reason.
But instead, we have the exuberant yet exhausted Corey Deering.
Yeah, that's me. Exuberant.
And exhausted. Actually, I'm not sure if both can coexist, but
Sure. Why not? Right? Joining me tonight is the one and only mad pharmacist herself, Stephanie Klimov.
I made it back to Nintendo Pow Block. Woohoo!
I know, and I promise it won't be 4 hours this time.
That's okay. Oddly enough, I actually have a normal amount of energy. Not too much energy, but I'm also not on the verge of falling asleep, which says something.
Well, the night is young, so let's give
Right?
it 30
Just the
minutes.
beginning.
See what happens.
That's okay. I'm happy to be chatting with you tonight. This is a fun little surprise.
Yeah, I was gonna do a significantly cut episode by myself tonight, and then
Like a
Stephanie.
ding dong.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody, Corey's a ding dong. He thinks that he
I
can
know.
just record something by himself and not have his cool friends such as myself join in and talk about video games and Nintendo and stuff.
Look, you know why I do that is because I think everybody already does a lot, and I don't want to bother anybody to make them do more.
The
So,
person who does the most a lots, that
yeah,
makes no
but
sense, is you, sir.
I'm a
Yeah, but
founding member,
yeah,
so
but
I'm obligated to do that. So,
oh,
I can't just shut it all down and start over. That'd be upsetting to a lot of people. So,
well, I'm here. We're here.
we are here. Although we did have that discussion on on the anniversary Boss Rush episode, which is up this week. Ed and I, it was like, what if we would have just stuck to Nintendo Pow Block, and then what would have happened? Would this evolve? And then we kind of went through the butterfly effect of if it all would have happened this way or not.
Ooh.
And
Mhm.
so it's not an intelligent butterfly effect conversation, everybody. It's me and Ed, so you can guess where that went. But
Intelligence is overrated.
I wish. Anyways,
Oh,
we're not here to
I
talk about
say
how.
that because of the severe irony, the irony that the presidential election's going on. I'll leave it at that because I dare
Mhm.
not drag politics, but you got to admit that it's just kind of funny, but
Yeah,
not
that's
really.
yeah. I mean, yeah. We're look, as somebody who works for a company who is not endorsing a candidate and therefore publicly cannot endorse a candidate,
Mm.
there is an opinion out there that there is clearly a good guy and a bad guy in this election. And yes. Oh man. Good times. I hope I say good times tonight, and by the time this comes out on Wednesday, that good times are happening and not scary times.
And the world isn't imploding. We'll see.
We'll see. Hey, orange makeup for everybody. All right, let's.
Oh no.
I hope not. Oh my god.
If there's no orange makeup, we could just probably crunch up a bunch of Cheetos. Just
I
rub
mean
them on our faces.
that's fair. That's
But
fair.
then I'll be hungry all the time.
Do we all get to play air accordions when we talk too?
Oh, maybe.
Oh gosh,
Oh, help.
did you hear the audio that came out from when he was at McDonald's? Some of
No.
it. Oh my god. He's like amazed at how fries are cooked. He's like, it never touches the human hand. Goes straight from the
I need to
box
look
into
this
the
up.
basket. Yeah, you got to look it up. It's so funny. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Oh, anyways, look, look. The guy is clearly a terrible person, but the comedy that has spawned out of that terribleness
Yeah.
is priceless. That's all I'm
You,
gonna
you
say.
gotta laugh to cope. There's actually, I'll share with you later, Corey, where they directly compared two similarly themed type of speeches that Obama had to give
Hmm.
and Trump had to give. Oh,
The
maybe you heard
the
it.
the yeah the where they captured
Yes.
Osama bin Laden or whatever,
Yeah,
and
it's
like
like a dog,
yeah,
but a beautiful dog, or
yeah.
something. I don't know. It's
He's like,
weird. No,
like go up to the front door, knock, like a normal
you think
like
you would
it
knock?
was.
You always knock on the front door. Like,
Oh my
what
God.
are you doing?
I
And
know.
then Obama's like speaking like very seriously and professionally, and I'm
I
like,
know. And
wow,
like
the dichotomy.
I see Obama talk still and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is how intelligent people speak." Like this is how people that sound like they should run a country. This is how they talk and this is how they speak. And then and like Harris reminds me a lot of that too, of like the way she presents herself and speaks is like a lot of there's a lot of Obama in her when she speaks, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't I don't know if she's going to be a good or a bad president if she's elected, but like it's 100% got to be better than the alternative, right? I mean, who's to say? I'm not a political science major or anything. Okay, I went to school for art, so it is what it is. But speaking of art, Stephanie, we could talk about the man who paints his face orange all day, but we could also talk about Nintendo because that's why we're here. This is a
Yes.
Nintendo podcast, a Nintendo Pow Block. You can support us over on Patreon, patreon.com/Boss Rush Network. Subscribe at the tier that's right for you. You may have noticed that I put out a letter to the audience today on Patreon about some streamlining that may happen in 2025. Just kind of clean some stuff up, and the $3 tier is going to go away because not enough people subscribe or utilize the features of that tier, that kind of thing. So if you're on Patreon, or even if you're not, you can go over there and read it. It's public for everybody. So that's that's the Patreon stuff, but you get perks, you get expansion pass, you get early access to book club, all those things. But if you can't support us financially, you can go to youtube.com/Boss Rush Network and subscribe to YouTube channel, like the video, hit the bell, watch all of our other stuff. It's a good time. You can also find everything on bossrush.net, including reviews and banters and listicles and all that stuff. Stephanie, your Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 interview has blown up significantly. It is the best. It might be the best performing audio listen of the year across the board.
Really? That's
Um,
awesome.
the YouTube video is at last time I checked, it was at like 700 and something views.
Wow, it's
So
still growing.
yeah, and
Okay.
that's with zero advertisements. So yep, 729. So you're killing
Nice.
it.
Thanks. Well, for those that haven't heard about that, one of my more recent spotlights is with Toby from Warhorse Studios to discuss the upcoming sequel to Kingdom Come Deliverance, which is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, releasing in February of next year. And it's not just a boring hour of promoting the game. Like, he's just a really awesome guy to talk to, and I got to learn a lot about, how people in the industry need to market to different well, like Europe, the Americas, and Japan. And just it was a genuinely very engaging, interesting conversation. So I'm really glad many people got to enjoy it. For those that haven't yet, check it out. um,
Yeah,
and I
he's
know.
really
Oh, sorry, go
interesting.
ahead. Hmm.
I was just saying he's really interesting to listen to.
Yeah, and they're doing a lot. I believe that he's going to be visiting the Czech embassy in LA at some point, because their game and even though it's historical fiction, it's definitely a source of importance and pride for their country, which is really great. We definitely don't see North America supporting video games as an art, so it was a very refreshing perspective.
Yeah, yeah. It was a great interview. It's
Thanks.
awesome. I'm glad that we got that in because that studio is, I mean, that game is very popular and that studio is very popular. And, I mean, we're growing, but, we're not like IGN or anything. So it was awesome.
Just
It was
a
great get.
humble little network here, but we do things with passion and pride.
Yes, yes, we do. Um, I don't know. Is there, let's see, you also interviewed the founder of Perfect Random,
Yep.
which is
Their
out now.
game Sulfur released last week. It is a first-person shooter roguelite, but very interesting art style. Great to get their perspective on game development. They're based out of Sweden. Sweden, yeah. Same place where Angry Demon Studios is from for gory, cuddly carnage. So I don't technically have anything else formally slated. I might have one, but I don't have it off the top of my head. It's the Adam, the gentleman that did the music for Peglin. I'll be recording with him at some point this month, and I'm still trying to get a few more people in the books. But until I have it officially scheduled, I definitely don't want to promise anything. But
Yeah. Uh, there's a few people I'm trying to get a hold of too. But between all the events going on, and I forgot
yeah,
EGS was this past week, and Game Awards coming up, and all the stuff surrounding that, it's like, oh my gosh, it's just hard to track people down at this point. But we are sitting down with Finish Line Games. Daniel Posner, the founder, we're sitting down with him next week to talk about Robots at Midnight. Very excited. It's kind of like this uh, cartoony action kind of soulsy like game. Played it at PAX East, and I fell in love instantly with it. So I wanted to talk to him at PAX West, but we were so busy that just didn't get it done. But good thing the internet exists, right? So that's it for me. So Stephanie,
yes.
what are you playing?
Aren't you
Oh, hold
supposed to
on.
do
Playing with power. All right, there we go. I can't see.
playing with
I can't do it
power?
like Ed. Ed's got too much energy, and I'm the, you know,
It's all right. You just gotta at least try.
yeah,
So, what are we playing with power? We are technically allowed to talk about non-Nintendo things, right?
yeah.
Sure. Okay.
That's all I've been playing. It's non Nintendo stuff,
Well, I'll
really.
start with non-Nintendo and work my way towards Nintendo. So, I played and I beat Silent Hill 2, the remake by Bloober Team, and I am not a horror person. I don't watch horror movies. I barely play horror games. I only started since I joined Boss Rush because I was encouraged to check out a few games that have strong story and or lore, which is kind of what hooked me. And yes, I used a guide to get through the game because I hate jump scares, and I primarily used it just so I can avoid the jump scares. That's really the only reason why I needed the guide. I played on standard difficulty for combat, light for puzzle, and it was amazing. I am absolutely in love with the voice acting. It was very convincing. I was blown away. It was very professional. Graphics were great. Um, the sound design and the story, because I thankfully I hadn't had the story of Silent Hill 2 spoiled for me, so all the twists and the turns in the end just blew my mind. So I ended up falling very much in love with Silent Hill 2. I really loved it.
Nice. I listened to a whole spoiler cast from a group of people that I like to listen to today.
Oh, nice.
Because
And
because I
did
feel
the spoiler cast for the Bloober team version of okay.
yeah, well, what they two of them played through the original and this one, and then one of the people on the show only played this one,
Mm-hmm.
and they were talking about, um, there's a lot of I don't want to spoil anything, I guess, for Silent Hill 2, but there's a lot of theories going on around this game that were kind of confirmed, based on some of the puzzles and new game plus elements, and I thought that was really fascinating. I didn't know that there was all this lore in Silent Hill, or like, the all these other things going on, and it sounds really fascinating. I just not gonna play a scary game. It's the same thing as Resident Evil, right? It's like I love the lore of Resident Evil. I think the story is hilarious and awesome and intriguing, but I'm like, I heard about the well scene in Resident Evil 2. I'm not going in there.
The
Or 8. I
wells.
mean I mean
Oh, I was
8.
gonna say, I was
Must
like,
be
all
8.
right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, it's the lore and the symbolism too, and is what fascinates me. Um, I would say between Resident Evil, now I've only played 2, 4, and just 2 and 4. So, um, and I only played Silent Hill 2 for and Silent Hill: The Short Message, but from my perspective, I think the scarier of the 2 franchises, I'd have to hand it to Silent Hill because of it's very atmospheric. And I don't know, for me, psychological horror freaks me out more than some fantasy horror like lycans and large lady vampires that will step on you. I don't
Mhm.
know. It's just like it's still Resident Evil's still scary. Don't get me wrong. Like Resident Evil 2, I also needed a guy's hoe and get jump scared. But it's like a zombie thing where it's like less realistic. But in Silent Hill 2, it's exploring the psyche of, like, really guilty people and the shit that goes in your brain and how it's manifested. I don't know, there's just I could go into it, but this isn't a Silent Hill 2 spoiler cast, so I played and I beat it.
I think also, like, Silent Hill's lore and characters take themselves way more seriously than Resident Evil. I think everybody knows that Resident Evil at this point is kind of campy, and
Yeah.
some of it's dumb, and I mean, not that it isn't serious at points, but like it's supposed to be dumb and campy, right? Whereas
Yeah,
Silent Hill, I
campy's
think,
the word, but the reason why Resident Evil succeeds in it is because Capcom really leans into it, and they change up their formula every couple games, so they own it, and I think they do a good job owning it. Um, Next is what I've been playing more recently, my next Sony game, but technically it's available via Switch, so it still applies. Gory Cuddly Carnage. Despite the word cuddly in there, it is definitely not for young children to play. You are an orange cat that's in a AI-driven spaceship and a talking hoverboard, and you occasionally drop down to Earth to defeat these zombie unicorns and other corrupted toys
hmm,
that were made by a large corporation that ended up destroying the human race. It's wacky, it's insane, and it's very cyberpunk environment, lots of neon colors, neon pink, neon yellow, and it the genre generally isn't something I'm into. It is you're on a hoverboard, so you're grinding and doing whatever, and it's a hack and slash kinda. Like every once in a while you get to a space and then it seals off the space until you kill all the zombie unicorns. But I think its personality really is what grips me, other than the fact that it's an orange cat game. I already have a weakness for that. But it is so much fun. There is so much freaking blood. Like John, the CEO of Angry Demon, wasn't kidding because in Japan, they weren't going to let them release that game over there. So they had to create a mode where it's not considered blood, it's toy juice. And they changed the color.
well, that just sounds like we're on
Right?
a different podcast.
But it's just so wacky and out there that it works. The writing is hilarious. It's fast paced. Not, each level doesn't take too long or overstay its welcome. So if you want something that you could use a quick session in and out, lovable characters and an amazing art style, because in between they have like comic book style artwork to explain the story. I actually recommend it. Again, adults, very mature, lots of swearing and lots of blood, but it's fantastic. Thank you, Angry Demon Studios. I love this game.
Yeah, it looks cool. I added it to my Switch wish list the other day because I was like, I gotta. You talked so much about this game. I'm like, I gotta at least like try it out at some point.
Uh, yeah, sorry. I mean,
Yeah.
but listen, it's one thing for me to be like, all right, I bought this game because it's got a cat in it, and then I play, and then I'm like, all right, it's a game with a cat in it. No, it's now become I also actually enjoy the game. In addition to
Hmm.
the fact that there's a cat in it, it's very just something so satisfying because there's like finishing moves you can do on these unicorn. It's almost a Mortal Kombat fatality. Sometimes it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks fun.
Yeah.
Um,
And then last but not least, I'm not sure if you're still playing it, but Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Oddly enough, I think I heard you say it in the last Nintendo Pow Block. Let me prerequisites this by saying it is still a fantastic game. There's really nothing fundamentally wrong with the game. I still enjoy it, but I'm having a hard time keeping on playing that. I
mhm.
can't put my finger on as to why. I don't know if it's because it's too easy. I don't know, but I'm struggling on it keeping my attention.
Yeah, so what I was talking to Andre the other day about this, and I think I was talking to Ed on something. I guess it was the last episode of this show that we were both on together because I don't remember when that was. But it like when you're playing through it, and I am still playing it sort of from little bits and pieces here and there because I want to finish it. But
Mhm.
it's like I play like I'm excited to jump in and play it, and then I'll play it for like a half hour, 45 minutes, and then I'll be like, I'm good. And like I don't feel compelled to keep playing it because I think as open as it is, I think that I think the 2D nature makes this type of game almost feel a little bit constrictive and less kind of experimental than something like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild. And because you can't really like I mean, you can like build stairs out of the beds, but you can't like, you know, solve the puzzles in a thousand different ways. And you get used to the same echoes that you've been using, which you find ways to use those so efficiently that later ones you're just like, "Oh, I don't care about that. I don't want to use that." But then like it's almost like a mental like you've really constricted yourself on these echoes, and it just makes me not want to like keep going, I guess. Like I'm like halfway through a dungeon right now, and I'm like I stopped in the middle of a dungeon, which I never do because I'm like I'm so afraid I'm going to get
Mm.
confused or lost or stuck or something because I just but I just like I don't feel like doing this right now. I'm good. I've had my fill. And maybe that's okay for Zelda games. And I also just told Ed I don't know if I'm a 2D Zelda person. I've tried 100 times, between A Link to the Past and Minish Cap and the Oracle games and Link's Awakening. It took me how long did it take me to beat that game? Like I just don't know if I'm a 2D Zelda person.
Mm. My history suggests that I'm also a 3D Zelda person, but I appreciate the 2D nature because I feel that it's less overwhelming for me.
Hmm.
So after Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, this was a breath of fresh air. Well, no pun intended.
Mm.
Um, but I think I feel hypocritical saying it because I've been wanting a more traditional Zelda, but I just feel like the gimmick and the gameplay is so repetitive, kinda, because you go to the area, take care of the smaller rifts, then you go to the big rift, then you go to the next area, you take care of the smaller rifts, and then you take care of the big rifts. So
Hmm.
I'm like, "Ugh." The dungeons themselves, like, in a vacuum, great. Like, I love the return to traditional dungeons. You find the key, you go here, there, instead of fixing the 4 things to one central mechanism. The dungeons themselves, great. But the whole like process of small rift, big rift, small rift, big rift, I'm like, "Oh, okay, like I got to keep releasing these weird little glowing things with crazy eyes. Um, I, and the echoes too. You're right, because now I have so many freaking echoes. Takes forever to go through them all. I end up relying on the same things: the water blocks, the beds, you know, that and that's
Hmm.
partially my fault because like I'm sure in tears people like constructed all these amazing creations and I have a simple brain. I'm a simpleton. Maybe I'm the same way with echoes, like I'm not very creative with coming up with solutions. I just stack the beds and then go on my merry way.
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything that you've said, and I think there are so many other games out right now, whether they're new or they've come to some sort of subscription service, or you know, we'll talk about it in a little bit. But Xenoblade Chronicles X just got announced for Nintendo Switch, and I've been waiting for the right time to jump into the Xenoblade series and really play it seriously. And that's got me on the hook right now, in a weird, a real way. Um, and Zelda is just not appealing to me right now. It's just,
Yeah.
plus I think too, playing Link's Awakening right before this, even though they're different
Oh,
games,
mhm.
they look identical, and the combat's identical and moving around the world is identical, to the point where it's like, maybe I made a mistake in playing, finishing that before
Yeah.
this.
You burned yourself out on a similar kind of a game.
Hmm.
Look and style. But no, I get it too. Maybe it is also because we're surrounded by a bunch of amazing games. Because now I'm in a race of time before Dragon Quest 3 2D
Hmm.
HD remake comes out. I'm like, no. So
Yeah.
again, just please, y'all. I'm a huge Zelda fan. Ocarina of Time's what was the gateway drug for me to play all video games. Like I love Zelda. Echoes of Wisdom itself is a wonderfully built game. Didn't come out broken. It's, whatever. It's just I don't know. There's something about it where it's not maintaining my attention as well as other current options.
Also, I think it's worth noting too that we've gotten a lot of Zelda on the Nintendo Switch, right? I
Mm,
mean, the N64, we got two games. The GameCube, we got, well, two or three games, I guess. But like, we've gotten a Zelda game every single year except for 1 year on the Switch.
mhm.
Between remakes and remasters and new games and uh, older games and NSO, like there are like 15 Zelda games on the Switch right now, and that's
Mm,
a lot of Zelda. And maybe we don't need one every year. As much
yeah.
as it pains me to say that, like, not that I want to wait 6 years in between entries, right? Like Skyward Sword to Breath of the Wild, but I could wait 2 years for the next Zelda. There's too many other games to play right now.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I think it honestly was a welcome surprise that Nintendo announced a Zelda game and then the game itself came out not too long after the announcement because that's pretty rare. But if Nintendo decided to wait till next year to release Echoes of Wisdom, I don't think any of us really would have been hurting. And if anything, it might have helped. But
mhm.
that's a small nitpick. It's whatever.
Yeah, yeah, we're being picky, and I think the general audience that doesn't buy every new game that comes out,
Yeah.
uh, well, they probably enjoyed their 20 or 30 hours of this game, and put it down, and were like, huh, what's next, and
Hmm. But
so.
yeah, so sorry, I kind of started rambling. Try to reel it in, but those are the three games that I've been playing. How about
Do you
you?
do you know who the host of this show is? I'm just kidding, Ed. We miss you, sometimes.
All the
Uh,
time, Ed.
as for me, I've also been playing Zelda. I have been playing Call of Duty Black Ops 6 through Game Pass. Um, it's I think this is going to be a really wonderful people who love, wonderful game for people who love Call of Duty. Um, I'm enjoying it. I don't know if I'll finish it, but it's fun for a minute. I already have my shooter in Destiny, and um, I don't know. It feels weird going into Call of Duty and how fast it is and how serious the military aspect of it is. And I do have to say though, the I just played through like the third or fourth mission, and Bill Clinton is just standing on stage because it takes place during the election where he's still in, a congressman, and he's
Does that feel weird to be playing a Call of Duty game where it's set in a time that you were actually alive
yes,
for?
yes,
Like, I just
yes.
it kinda blows my mind.
Because like I'm sitting there and they like show real footage of certain things, and then they kind of form the story around this real footage, right? So it's like historical fiction, and it's weird seeing, George Bush give a speech that I'm like, I remember seeing George Bush on TV talking, because I was alive when he was the president.
Right.
And then
That's
like watching this like recreation of Bill Clinton standing on stage giving a speech, I was like, I remember when Bill Clinton was president. This is strange. And like walking into this building where he's about to give his, speech or whatever, and there's just posters all over the place. Vote Clinton, vote, your vote counts. And it's like, oh man, this is really weird.
Does that mean we're old now?
I hope not. I mean, I'm almost 40. I'll be 40 in 2 years. So,
Anyway, believe it or not, I've never played a Call of Duty game. Other than the set piece, has the gameplay varied much between iterations?
well, the last the last Call of Duty game I played kind of seriously was Black Ops 2, which is this is a direct sequel to, by the way, everybody.
Mhm.
And it feels the same. Like it feels like Call of Duty. I mean, I know people who are really hardcore probably can spot the
Mhm.
differences and stuff. They do have this really interesting like movement mechanic that's very Max Payne. It's like this omnidirectional movement, like where you can dive to the side, dive backwards, and all this kind of stuff. But other than that, it really does feel like Call of Duty. I will say you can see the budget in this game. It is one of the and this is every Call of Duty, I think, every year, but like this is one of the most visually stunning games, especially in cutscenes, that I think I've ever seen outside of maybe Hellblade.
Oh, okay.
And it is like you can see it in like they have some actors in here that I recognize. I couldn't tell you their names because I'm not a TV person, but like the one character, Agent Haro, she was in she was in House of Cards and Orange is the New Black. Like I recognize her. And the interrogator is I recognize him from several shows. I couldn't tell you his name. Um, but I recognize him. The black guy that's in it, I recognize him from things. Like I recognize a lot of these people as actors. So it's definitely they're continuing the, you know, Kevin Spacey effect from Advanced Warfare. Like you recognize these people. Um, so it's interesting. But I didn't think I was going to talk about it that long.
Partially because
But
my question, sorry.
yeah, uh, I played the Monster Hunter Wilds beta, which I will talk about that on the Boss Rush podcast because I have a lot of questions specifically for LaRon.
But I
Um,
bet you so proud of you that you tried it.
I here's the thing, I really liked it. I wanted to love it. The controller, like the gamepad controls, are terrible. I'm
Mm,
like, there are several games, including other Monster Hunter games, that do this better. Like
interesting.
like button inputs on controllers and stuff,
Do
and
you
it's like
think they just focused too much for it to be mouse and keyboard?
I don't know, but it does prompt you. Are you using a controller or a mouse and keyboard right at the beginning, even on Xbox?
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and I am really hoping, like, there are some controller customization options. I'm really hoping that it allows you to map your buttons completely.
Mhm.
I even, not that they'll see it, but I tweeted out to Capcom, like, please, I said, I want to love Monster Hunter. Please let me map my own buttons. Um, because there are other like, I know this is an RPG and, a lot of ways not an action game, but it's an action game. Let me map the buttons like it's an action game. I don't want to have to be like, uh, dodging with A when the normal action game button it's B or X or whatever. And if I'm using a weapon, don't let me use the same button that shoots the gun to reload it. Like, let me reload it with a reload button like a shooter, or just little things like that, that if I could just customize the controls, you would lose me in this game. You would,
Mm.
because I think it's really fun. I think it's really interesting. I think a lot of the multiplayer concepts are very almost passive, where like you'll just join somebody else on a hunt and you don't have to talk to them, you don't have to communicate with them. There's little like quick chats of like, I'm here, what do you need? I'll heal you, whatever, all these different things. And um I like it. I really want to love it. And the thing that's preventing me from loving it is the controls.
Okay.
I do have to say, the first night I spent like an hour and 20 minutes creating my character, because it has the best character creator on the
Okay.
planet, hands down. And I thought this about Monster Hunter Worlds too when I played it. So
Interesting. All right.
kudos to Capcom for that.
Capcom's on fire.
Mhm. Yeah, they really are. And this game's going to be massive, though. I'm going to tell you
Mm.
right now. And then Destiny 2 I've been playing, but I also got into the Destiny Rising Alpha, which is the new mobile game. Um, and it's Destiny on mobile. Free to play, third person, first person. You can choose either one. You can hook a controller up to your phone. The good thing about Macs is that you can now mirror your phone onto your screen. So if you want to play, if you have a Mac and you have an iPhone and you're in this, you can play it on your Mac, which is nice. Uh, I played it with an Xbox controller. Uh, it does some interesting things. We're going to talk about it in depth on Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast that I host. But they do some really interesting things here that I wish they would add to Destiny 2.
Huh.
There,
Okay. Is it
there
like a
are
completely separate? Well, obviously they're separate games, but you know what I'm getting at. Like they're not
yes.
directly linked or anything.
This is so NetEase is developing this, not Bungie. Bungie's involvement is there, but this is an alternate timeline from Destiny and Destiny 2,
Mm.
which, depending on how successful it is, they're going to find a way to merge them, because there's timeline jumping and time travel in Destiny already. So whatever. Uh, but I really like that there are hero characters in this. Like, you can play like little mini campaigns with these hero characters, as well as play the game as your own created character. They fill certain activities with AI bots that help you when players don't join you right away, which is something I wish Destiny would desperately add. Um,
Mm.
and I just think they're doing a lot of really interesting things. My major concern is it's a free to play mobile game, and it's the same it's the same team that did Diablo Immortals, which was painfully monetized in a lot of ways.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's my only thing. But I wonder if we'll get anything for being Bungie creators, like if we'll get like a gold pack or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Um, but that's kind of it. We're going to talk a lot more about it on the Destiny podcast, because there are some really fascinating things with that game that I really wish they would just put it in the real game. It would,
Yeah. Maybe they will. Maybe it's like a little test. I don't know.
maybe. I think it depends on how successful this game is and what ideas can be used
Mm.
for future. But
When did the mobile game of the Destiny release?
the alpha came out on Friday.
Okay, very new. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I've only put a couple hours into it, but Paul Tassi of Forbes wrote a really great article about it. And I agree with almost all of his points that he made in that article. So if you're interested and don't want to wait for Tower Casuals, you can go read that. But we'll see. It's another one of those games that's like, why is this on a phone?
Yeah.
you know, I don't care that it's free to play. There's a lot of free to play games. You see, the first Descendant is a very free to play Destiny like. There's a lot of free to play games on console, obviously, but it's like, and I get that they don't want to cannibalize their audience, especially because Destiny 2 is not in a great spot right now in terms of player base. But what would be a great place for this game would be Nintendo Switch, honestly, or Switch 2.
Mm,
Um,
maybe. Yeah.
because Destiny doesn't exist on the platform at all. There's already mobile games on there, like Star Wars Hunters is a very popular free to play game. That's a mobile game on Switch. And there are several others that I don't know what they are at the moment, but very successful on Switch. I would just wonder if this would feel at home there.
Yeah, that's something to think about.
Yeah.
Well, if I could just throw in one more thing, because I forgot, I promise I won't take too long. Because I never think of mobile games as games, but when you said that, I'm like, oh, wait,
hmm
I I'm part of the problem, the Pokemon trading card game Pocket.
Oh yeah. How is that? Is that?
Because I totally forgot about it until I saw people in a Discord chat saying, "What's your friend number?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that thing."
hmm
It's cool. Because I've spent way too much money buying Pokemon cards for my son, aka really for myself for the past year or two. And here, it'll allow you to open 2 virtual packs a day. So I get the thrill of, ripping open a pack and seeing if I get a Charizard EX. Obviously, it's not the same as a card in person, but it does scratch a little bit of that itch.
hmm
Um, so it's cool. I did unlock the ability to battle people. I haven't done that yet, but I think that's kind of cool too because I don't know, you need the cards, you need to build your deck. There are certain rules and you need to meet in person. So unless you're really, really into the trading card game, I feel that's the casual consumer can give less of a crap about it. But now
hmm
it being a mobile game and they're very handholdy, and they simplified it. I feel that this might be a little bit of an easier method to play the game for those casual players. So I've only had it for a few days, but so far it's pretty cool. I do end up going into it a couple times a day.
Nice. Yeah, I was wondering if anybody was playing that. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a mobile game, but it's Pokemon. It's Nintendo centric. It's you know,
Mm.
Pokemon's very popular. I
It
hear
is.
so.
Yeah. I do appreciate the artwork and I love the interactive cards. Like I got a Mewtwo interactive. It was really neat. So, whoever's listening, share what your thoughts are with Pokemon Pocket.
Yeah, tell us. Comment on the video. Let us
Yeah.
know. Maybe we'll throw a pack or two somewhere. If you can do that, I don't know if you can or not, but anyways,
Believe you can. You can send friends packs. So
cool. Uh, Real quickly before we get into Family news, Nintendo.
Nintendo, yes.
Any fun snacks, Stephanie?
My son and I baked chocolate chip and caramel cookies. Lots of Halloween candy, and then lastly, you inspired me to do a chicken dish, so I scraped together some ingredients and I made chicken adobo, which is a
Ooh,
Filipino dish. Turned out very, very good. The juices and the sauce mixed in with the rice. It was delicious. So short and sweet, those were our treats for the week.
nice. Yeah, I every weekend, every Sunday, I cook a bunch of chicken for meal prep for the week because I just have to do that because I work all the time. And so this week I grilled some sweet and smoky seasoning on this chicken, and it's really really good. I still think the applewood rub is better,
Ooh, yeah.
but there's 3 more seasonings, Stephanie, that I'm going to test over the next couple weeks. So you know we're gonna compare.
Discuss and rate.
Yes. And then we had Chipotle on Saturday, because my parents came over, and my mom's like, "Whoa, you guys hungry?" We're like, "Yeah, we're humans." She's like, "Oh, I randomly have this Chipotle gift card in my purse." I'm like, "Oh, okay," because you know how moms are. Sometimes they blame you for everything, and sometimes they just try to love you. So
It's a roll of the dice.
well,
I
it
gotta say,
depends.
you never really know.
Yeah, depends on the minute of the day.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, so that's kind of it. I don't have any fun snacks like Ed always finds. So
Yeah.
uh,
Sorry.
sorry, Ed. You better come packing next time.
Mm.
All right, let's get into family news. There's
Family
a family news. There's a
news.
lot of news, Stephanie. We'll run through it relatively quickly.
Oh, but this is good news. Yes. And you
I
mentioned
know.
one earlier, so let's start off with that one.
Yeah. So the lead-off story here is that Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition is finally coming to the Nintendo Switch after people have been begging for it. Um, it's coming in March, which begs to wonder when the next console is coming. Uh,
Mhm.
they also tease a little bit of additional story content, which I think might connect it either to the next game or the trilogy, because Xenoblade Chronicles X is a standalone game. It was kind of delivered originally that it did not connect to the other games in a you know direct manner. Um, the whole thing is that you're building New Los Angeles, which is a city that you have been stranded on, a planet called Mira that you've been stranded on, and you're trying to make this city livable, and you kind of become this mech pilot. And then, about 20 hours in, you get a mech that you can then go out and customize and find parts for and do all these things. And then, about 60 hours in, you get to fight sky dragons in the mechs, and it becomes this totally different game than Xenoblade usually becomes, but it is amazing. I played about 110 hours of it on the Wii U. uh, it's an incredible game. I can't wait for people to play it. I've connected with like 3 or 4 other people online based on this game alone in the recent weeks, which I'm very excited for. Might have on a show or two, to talk about it
Nice.
at some point. Um,
Yeah, I've
so
never played a Xenoblade game, and I've been waiting for this port, quote unquote, to eventually make its way to Switch. So this is going to be another entry point for me. I'm very excited.
yeah, this is. I was talking with somebody online the other day about, now that we have the entire Xenoblade saga on Switch and Batten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD, where's our Xenosaga trilogy and where's our Xenogears port? Those are the
Mm,
last 4 Xeno games that we need. I don't expect Xenogears unless, Square remakes it or whatever. Uh, but Bandai Namco is the publisher of Xenosaga. They are also the publisher of Batten Kaitos 1 and 2. So I
mm.
I'm very ready for all the Xeno games to be here. But Xenoblade Chronicles X is definitely a winner. I'm wondering how they're going to do the second screen stuff, but I mean, Tokyo Mirage Sessions figured it out. All these other Nintendo games figured it out.
I was gonna
It's
say, if
probably
anyone
just
can do it, Nintendo can.
yeah. I mean, it's probably just a pause menu option at this point.
Mm.
We do have a couple questions relating to this though. Miss B writes in, I'm so excited to play Xenoblade Chronicles X for the first time. How are you all feeling about the latest remaster coming to Switch? I
Well, I
mean,
think I kind of covered my portion, so I unfortunately haven't played a Xenoblade game yet. And I really started getting interested when 3 came out. I'm like, well, darn, like I don't know if I have the time to kind of go back and restart. So I feel
mhm.
like this will be my jumping point. And I'm all about the remasters. I know certain people feel a certain way, and it also depends on the level of remastering, but this definitely seems like a very solid one, something that many of us have been waiting for, so I am hyped.
Yeah, I definitely think this is a win because nobody bought a Wii U, and Xenoblade didn't
Mhm.
become popular until two. I would say until at least Torna came out, the DLC for two, and that's when the series really took off. And then the remaster of one and how it connected to two, with the that kind of epilogue that they added, and Xenoblade is in a way better place. Nintendo's in a way better place. This is a
Yep.
win. My thing with Nintendo remasters is I think Nintendo's actually been doing a pretty decent job overall with their Wii U kind of ports and remasters, because they always add content to them. Super Mario 3D World added Bowser's Fury, which was a 5 hour experience. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker added a ton of new levels. And there's various other examples that have made it over, and they just keep adding content to these games, making them better, um, making them more playable. I'm all for remasters. I'm all for everything running the best and looking the best that they possibly can be. Right? I mean, I spent the extra $10 on the Horizon Zero Dawn remastered, even though I don't plan on replaying it anytime soon, because the next time I do play it, I want it to look the best and run the best. So, and my PlayStation doesn't even work right now. So, oh, there's beeping in my house. I think it's a dehumidifier. Oh well.
Mm.
Means it's full, everybody. Um, where was I? Yeah, so I think Xenoblade Chronicles X is a win. Everybody should play it. Everybody should buy it. Support Xenoblade Chronicles. It's a great series, even though I've never finished any of them except for this one. Uh, and then, oh no,
Sam.
uh, Sam Hall writes in. So now that Xenoblade Chronicles X is coming to Switch, where do you think Nintendo will start pulling their ports for the from the next generation? Where are the Zelda games? It's a great question, Sam. It's a great question. You know where they're at? They're sitting on a shelf somewhere. Be
They
like,
are.
there. This is going to
Nintendo's
be
just waiting
the
for that break glass for emergencies. I just feel like they're ready, or I don't know about ready, but it'll come, just not now.
yeah. I think I'm almost wondering if Nintendo is waiting to see how well the Switch does this holiday season,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't put it because when the Switch was announced, and 2 or 3 years in, right when Furukawa took over, the current Nintendo president, and Doug Bowser took over for Reggie, and they had that whole regime change. They said they envisioned the Switch to be a 10-year plus console. And we're heading into we're in year 8 right now, right? And if you look at the 3DS, that thing continued to sell and 18 months into the Switch's life cycle before it really started, okay, maybe we should stop producing 3DS games, right? I mean, that's why Alpha Dream died, the Mario and Luigi studio. Um, because their ports didn't sell anything. Um, but the Switch is a monster. I think they want to see how long they can push off the next console, and the way to do that is to save your best ports. I mean, not only the two Zelda games, but you have two Metroid Prime ports you could pull from. Ed and I talk about all the time. You could pull GameCube and Wii games and just keep remastering them the way you did Metroid Prime remastered, and the Thousand Year Door. I mean, we've even seen companies have their takes on DS and 3DS games with Luigi's Mansion 2 and the Castlevania Dominus collection that just came out. Two very different styles of games, but they made it work. I think the possibilities are kind of endless to where Nintendo can pull from. You can remake Ocarina of Time finally, right? I mean, some of these
I
games
think
are due
there's
for
a
remakes.
system though that they'll focus on, like, they're finishing up what's from the Wii U, which the Zelda games will be kind of
Mhm.
next. I'm still they still have a little bit of a dent to make in the GameCube space, right?
The last time we counted, there are something like 22 GameCube remasters on the Switch already.
Oh wow,
Not
okay.
necessarily from Nintendo, but
Mm,
you have Bat and Kados 1 and 2, Paper Mario, um, Tales of Symphonia remastered. There are a ton of games from that era on the
yeah.
Switch already that are just massive. And I think the risk you take, although we're going to talk about it a little bit later, is like if you could sell these games at $40 or $50 a pop, would you really want to put GameCube games on NSO at some point? Which I think they will at some point eventually, once they realize the GameCube ports aren't going to sell anymore than what they have already. And I think that's when you'll see GameCube pop up and they'll be like, oh, $10 more a year, you could get GameCube games if you didn't buy them already, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
so,
Yeah, makes sense. I agree.
um, and I think you have a lot of room with DS and 3DS also. So that whole era, GameCube, Wii, DS, and 3DS, I think is where you're going to see them start pulling from next. Um, Especially like some of the RPGs. Gosh, give me Last Story and Pandora's Tower from the Wii. That'd be great. Thanks. All right. I guess we can move on.
Ooh, can I cover the next two? Give you a little bit of
Yeah,
briefing.
please
Oh,
do.
Corey's getting nervous. No, I'm just kidding. This was a nice little shadow drop, so to speak. Nintendo has a tendency to do that. So there's a Nintendo Music app. Unfortunately, it's a separate app again, but there was a surprise launch on mobile exclusively to NSO members. So if you are an NSO member, you can download the Nintendo Music mobile app that will play various music from franchises like Splatoon, Zelda, Metroid, Mario, Pokemon, Donkey Kong, Star Fox, Fire Emblem, and more. So it's the way Nintendo in this just referencing Nintendo Life, it essentially is behaving a lot like a Spotify. And it's pretty nice. They have a small but a decent amount of options, and I'm hoping, and I would like to think that they'll expand on it over time. But I think it's just a nice additional perk for the members. It's a bummer that I don't know about what you think, Corey, but the fact that it's just yet another app, it's like, well, did it have to be? But it's there if you want it.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to integrate some sort of feed into like Spotify or Apple Music or whatever music service you already listen to. But again, it's free Nintendo Music, which is something people have been asking. I mean, people have
Yeah.
left their GameCubes or Wii U's or Switches on just to listen to the Smash Brothers soundtrack because it has that sound test in there, right? And you know the music plays when you put the console in sleep mode. I think. Uh, so this is just a way around that.
I know.
I
I'm
want.
still actually very excited for it because you know me, I'm a big fan of OSTs and music, and I have
Mhm.
a bunch of CDs. I even bought a few cassettes, but streaming is a lot more convenient.
Yeah, and like there's ways to extend the tracks too. There was an article I think on either Nintendo Life or My Nintendo or Go Nintendo where the app has spoiler modes on it to where like if you want to listen to the music up to a certain point where you've played in a game, it'll stop there and won't show you the music from other levels because you haven't been there yet, which is
Mm-hmm.
cool. I see them kind of extending this past where they're at now. I mean, obviously they launch with heavy hitters like Zelda and Mario and Splatoon and stuff like that. I wonder if third party games are going to be added to this eventually at some point. Um,
That would be
because like
nice.
Sonic the Hedgehog has some pretty killer jams,
Mhm.
Genesis, you know. So it's cool though. I think this is a nice ad if you are a Nintendo Switch
Yeah,
Online subscriber. Separate app kind of
exactly.
sucks.
Hmm. All right, and I touched upon it in games we played, but Pokemon trading card game Pocket shocker, is a hit on mobile. And how did you find a hit? Well, they've already surpassed 10 million downloads, making about $12 million within the first 4 days. This is taken from mobilegamer.biz, and they referenced App Magic. So they've estimated that Pokemon Company's made around 3 million a day over its debut weekend, and yes, within 4 days, about $12 million. So to recap, this app was released or dropped on October 30th, right before Halloween. Of course, whether or not this is a sustained success, that's still to be determined. I'm actually writing a Boss Rush banner that will be released this week to address that exact question. But anyway, most of the money that has been earned, to no surprise, comes from players in Japan, just shy of 50%. So 45% of the game's earnings come from Japan, and then followed by those in the United States, representing about a quarter of their revenue to date. So that's a lot. That's a pretty hot weekend.
Yeah, that's I mean, this feels like this kind of feels like Pokemon Go all over again in a way.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I referenced it in my article, so you'll see the website there, but I believe Pokemon Go is ranked around like sixth within the top grossing mobile games. So I'm wondering if it'll surpass Go, because even though it's both Pokemon, they both play very differently, so.
yeah, yeah. I hope this is a success because it'd be great. It would be great to just have Nintendo keep making more money and Pokemon Company to make more money to make more games for us. Awesome. All right, Stephanie, you've heard of this Nintendo 64 console, right? This retro console, as the kids say.
Oh, retro. Oh, yeah.
Um, the Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack Nintendo 64 Mature 17 app. They really need to work on their names for these things.
I know.
Expands with two new games, Turok Seeds of Evil and Shadow Man. So what's interesting about these titles, not that they're bad titles, I think these are I think Turok 2 specifically is an amazing game. But I always kind of assumed that games that had some sort of collection or remaster would never really make their way to NSO. And so far, a lot of N64 games have made it. And Shadow Man Remastered and Turok 2 both have remasters on the Switch that you can buy for $19.99 a piece.
Yep. I really wanted to play. I haven't played either of these yet, and Shadow Man in particular, I was looking into, but I want to make sure I played the remastered version. I'm going to assume, or maybe I shouldn't, that the ones coming to NSO would be the original iterations.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess it's better than nothing, but
Yeah.
still, that's hard when you have a remaster that improved controls,
Hmm.
especially.
Especially because Night Dive did the remasters,
Yep.
and
Hmm.
they have modern kind of, especially the Turok games. I don't know about Shadow Man, but I would assume it'd be the same way. Have modern first-person shooter controls and run at a solid frame rate, and there's no fog of war in Turok this time. Uh, so yeah, but this is, I mean, I guess this is a nice option if you don't feel like paying that and you want to play with the claw controller, and you've invested so much in these dumb controllers, which I just bought two more. So now I have four to not play with anybody. Um, but I mean, this comes off the heels of Banjo Tooie coming from Microsoft now and Rare, and they made some emulation changes to Perfect Dark, so the Nintendo 64 app is bumping. Got some hot titles over there.
Sure is. I'm glad to see this come to fruition. Not that I'm surprised, but I remember when Nintendo first rolled out NSO, and a lot of people balked at the price compared to what was available. I'm like, guys, they're gonna roll out the mat over time. Just need to wait.
Yeah. And they obviously didn't remember the Virtual Console Wii U rollouts, which were like, oh, here's three titles, and you waited 3 months, and then they're like, here's two more.
Yep.
But they all
Yeah.
came eventually. So All right. Last two stories kind of run quickly. One's more for me than anybody else here. Level
I
5.
wonder which one it is.
Level 5, Japanese developer, has reconfirmed they do have 3 Switch games coming in 2025. One being Professor Layton in the New World of Steam, which is going to be awesome. If you have never played the Professor Layton games on the DS or 3DS, I highly recommend tracking them down and playing them. They are some of the best mystery/puzzle games. I know Pat is really obsessed with Ace Attorney. Professor Layton murders Ace Attorney. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Oh,
I'm just saying that's to ruffle Pat's feathers, but seriously,
hat has
Professor,
been thrown in the ring.
yeah, get Phoenix right out of here. There's a reason why he's been replaced 3 separate times. Okay, you know who hasn't been replaced? Professor Layton. Actually, he has one time by his niece, Cottrell. That's fine. But yeah, Professor Layton. I'm looking very much looking forward to that. The other 2 games that are coming are Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, which I know a lot of people are really looking forward to, and the other one I've never really heard of, which is Inazuma 11 Victory Road. I think is a soccer game. I want to say. I think it's some sort of anime soccer game. I don't know.
Why not?
Weebs can figure it out. Uh, as we sat here and talked about Xenoblade for 20 minutes.
Right.
The last story here is more for me than anybody else. Disney Dreamlight Valley is getting a massive update in November and is getting a brand new expansion called Storybook Vale. It is out this November for $29.99. The roadmap says it will release in 2 parts, which is exactly what A Rift in Time did. It'll include new characters, new villains such as Hades and Maleficent, and will include new heroes as like Merida and Flynn Rider and many more. And the Star Path has, I forget what the Star Path is, but it's got a new island, and I wish they would just expand the main island. But
Hey,
here we
I
are.
think $29.99 is well worth it for Hades alone. He's such a sassy bad guy. I love him.
Yeah, there is a massive a blog post on the Disney Dreamlight Valley website with the roadmap and the different editions that you can buy and what comes with it and whatever. There is an Alice in Wonderland expansion coming in the spring, Peter Pan in the summer, and there's a lot going on here. Very exciting. Very exciting for Hades. And yeah, if you're interested, I will be playing it. Don't talk to me. I'll be lost. I still haven't beaten the main campaign of that game, by the way. too busy gaming the system and screwing Goofy over with my crops.
That's when you know you're having a good time, though. You're not trying to rush the mainline story. So,
Yeah, I mean, been taking it
not
real
that I
slow.
know.
My game time in that game is like 7 days. So
Wow.
it's the game I play when I don't know what to play.
Mm.
And
Fair. We all have that.
it also helps that like the game is on Game Pass, but it's also on Switch, and
Cross
the
save.
saves
Yeah,
it's cross save across all platforms, even mobile. So
that's awesome. I think
yeah,
that's such a fantastic idea.
yeah. All right, Stephanie, it's time for Pack Watch. This is
Woo!
where we see what's coming out this week to the Nintendo Switch. There are 4 kind of highlighted games coming out this week. Metal Slug Tactics. I know Laron's really looking forward to this. Metal Slug Tactics offers a fresh perspective on the iconic battles of the Metal Slug series. Accumulate experience after each battle to unlock new weapons or bonus perks to upgrade your team's firepower and tactical skills. This is coming out on November 5th, which was yesterday by the time this posts. I'm kind of excited for this, although I know it's funded by a very controversial group in the Saudi public
Mm.
fund. So, take that as you will. They do own the entirety of SNK now. They also own 8% of Nintendo. So, Do with that what you will. Metal Slug Tactics looks great. On 11.6, we're getting Monarchy. This description is very vague. A 2D side-scrolling strategy game of resource management, base defense, and conquest.
It's pretty basic.
Yep. So Monarchy, everybody. On 11.7, we're getting Magical Bakery. Magical Bakery is a cooking and management single-player game set in an enchanted bakery that sells all sorts of sweets and pastries with a twist. They may contain traces of magic. Experience a life full of magic, challenges, and joy of creating sweets that will leave a spellbinding impression on your customers.
See, now that's a description. That's just a freaking baking sim, and it just made it look
Yeah.
pretty interesting,
Yeah.
I guess. Sure.
Too bad it's coming out on the same day as a little ditty called Mario and Luigi Brothership. The brothers return for a brand new adventure on the high seas. When the Uni Tree is destroyed and the world of Concordia is broken apart, Mario and Luigi must try to reconnect a fractured world, one island at a time. Um, this has been
Hmm.
getting pretty. The conversation around this game has been pretty controversial this week
Yeah.
because it's sitting at some like at low 80s or high 70s on Metacritic, and IGN gave it a 5, which whatever, it's an opinion. I don't care what you give it. The
I
mo-
briefly skimmed their high level of like why they gave it a 5, and part of it has to do with the significant hand holding.
mhm.
I don't know if hand holding is grounds for a low score, but in the back of my mind, it does kind of worry me for my enjoyment because if I get too much hand holding, I'll get really bored. But I also don't want to put the cart before the horse. I still have this pre-ordered and I'm looking forward to seeing a revival of the Mario and Luigi series. I want it to be successful. I want more of these.
Yeah, I love this series. I do want to point out that this game has never, or this series has never scored particularly high, except for
Mhm.
Bowser's Inside Story. I know the last couple, Luigi's Dream Team, I think was the one, and then Paper Jam. Those didn't score high at all, and I love Dream Team. So whatever.
So,
Who's to say? Everybody has their own opinion.
yeah, and
I'm
don't knock it till you
excited.
try it.
Just like you, I already have it pre-ordered, and I'm ready to pick it up on Thursday
Yep,
and hopefully play a lot of it this weekend.
awesome. And you know what I just noticed about these four games? They all begin with M.
Oh no, you're right. They do.
Not that that means anything. Metal Slug Tactics, Monarchy, Magical Bakery, Mario and Luigi Brothership. But yeah, out of all that, I'm looking forward to Mario and Luigi Brothership. Um, don't think I'll be able to beat Zelda before then, so I'll be bouncing between several Nintendo games in the next month.
Yeah. I'm also going to be bouncing between a lot of games, mostly because it's almost that time to get ready for the Bossies, Stephanie, and the Game Awards and
Oh, can't
holiday
wait.
stuff. So a lot, a
Busy
lot to,
time.
a lot to do. But that's it. We kind of integrated the questions into the stories above.
Good
Um,
job, Corey.
I don't. There was one question in Discord about Dragon Quest H 2D HD. I guess we could read that real quick, although I don't really have a good answer. Seamus the Kilted Gamer asks, will they ever remake a 2D HD version of Dragon Warrior 4 for the NES like they are doing with 1 through 3? I mean, probably depends on how successful these ones are. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, as big as Dragon Quest is in Japan, Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior isn't very big over here. So
yeah.
I
I
guess
do
it
think
just
in part
depends.
it has to do with it'll be play a big factor on how successful this launch is. I wouldn't say it's impossible.
Hmm.
The fact this is happening, opens up that bridge of possibilities, but it might be too soon to tell.
Yeah. Plus, I know that 1, 2, and 3 are all part of a trilogy,
Yep. Hmm.
and 4, 5, and 6 are also a trilogy of games. So if you go in remaking 4, you have to expect that they're going to want to do 5 and 6 as well. Um, and I know those games are actually very popular and hard to find on the DS because they remade them for all of those for DS at one point. So if you have a shiny Benjamin burning a hole in your pocket, go on eBay and find yourself those DS games. But also, I know that 7 and 8 were where the series kind of became more popular over here. And I don't know. We'll see. I know 11 did really well for them. So I wouldn't put it past them, especially if these are successful. And this doesn't seem like a very expensive way to remake games or make games, right? I mean, Octopath Traveler 1 and 2 are very successful. Even Live Alive, that remake was pretty successful for what it was. I could see it.
For sure. It just might be a few years before we see that.
Yeah. But we did it, Stephanie. We did it.
We did it!
We did it in record time.
But I hope it didn't feel like it was, rushed, because it was really good pacing, I think.
Yeah, I don't think we rushed anything.
Okay. Didn't want you to think you had a rush for my sake or anything. But no, this is awesome. Had a lot of good discussion, and I don't know, just nice talking video games with you.
Yeah.
And we'll do it again tomorrow.
Yeah. I kind of wanted to spend another half hour on Nintendo music, but just kidding.
Let's do a deep dive. What have you been listening to?
Oh boy, let me tell you, I've been listening to nothing. Not a thing. I've actually been listening to the new Linkin Park album is actually what I've been listening to be 100% honest with you.
Nice. I've been trying to utilize my soundtracks that are on cassette. I can't tell if the Walkman's all messed up or if it just needs batteries because it was playing really well. And then when I got to the Coffee Talk cassette, it just started sounding like I was in frickin' Silent Hill, like the way this music was all warped. I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah, I mean maybe your batteries are dying and then, the things and the gears inside are just slowing down because the batteries are dying.
Maybe. I hope that's what it is because I don't know. Anyway, music's great.
Music's great. You know what else is great? Our audience. Thank you guys so much for watching and or listening to this episode of Nintendo Pow Block. Remember to give us a rating and a nice review on them podcast services of choice. Tell your friends. Subscribe on YouTube. Stephanie, thank you for your time tonight. I always appreciate seeing your face and being a little different than we normally podcast. So this was nice.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, and thanks, guys, for listening to me prattle on about various video game topics. So until next time.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye. If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.